We are on page 41. Okay, before we start reading, I want to take 1 minute. We ended on a kind of like an awkward spot for this play, a spot that's really important to understanding this play. So go 1 page earlier to page 39. And they're talking about their plans. Sorry, I kind of have a cold today, so I'm a little out of breath. I'm vaccinated, so it's but there's a scene where Gremio and Hortensio are having a conversation together about their plan going forth, right? And they're like, we got to find a man for Catherine because she's awful, and if we can't find somebody who's like strong enough to like kind of like keep her in line, then neither of us are going to be able to date Bianca, and that's what we want. So it's like, let's put our differences aside for a second, and then once that's decided, once Catherine's taken care of, then we can become rivals again, and we can fight over who's going to get Bianca, right? And it says on the bottom of that page, Hortensio says, "Faith, as you say, there's small choice in rotten apples." So like Catherine's the rotten apple here, and it's no choice to have to take her. "But come, since this bar-in-law makes us friends, it shall be so far forth friendly, maintained till by helping Baptista's eldest daughter to a husband, we set his youngest free for a husband, and then have to it afresh." So like, and then we can start, our fight again afresh. So that line where it says, we're going to find a husband for Catherine, and then we set his youngest free for a husband. What do you think about that word free in this context? Yeah, Kale.
All the things like there's like this really bad people like the guy who got married with the next like 7 years and then ends up marrying her sister because she needs to be married first. And then he works another 7 years.
So then is he just married to both of them?
Yeah. It's probably like just like the need for the oldest.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's totally common practice. Even today, sometimes you'll see families where if a younger sister gets married before the older sister kind of feels bad about it, and you'll see like people kind of making fun. This is in very old fashioned kind of families, but you'll see people kind of making fun of the older sister who has to be a bridesmaid at their younger sister's wedding. Like, it's not supposed to happen this way, right? What does that suggest about being a girl? Like, what is the kind of like little critique that might be happening right there? Yeah. That's your job, right? That's what you are supposed to be doing. And so if you're an older daughter who has not done that, there is something very wrong with you, right? Yes, very wrong with you. And so it's like you couldn't, there's something, wrong with your character that you couldn't snag a man, right? And then they say, but we need to set his youngest free for a husband. Tell me about that phrase, free for a husband. Are we meant to take that very straightforwardly? No, and you can kind of hear that in my voice that I'm leading. Why could that potentially be satire? Satire is when we're critiquing something about the status quo. We're critiquing something about culture that we might feel like is like wrong. Yeah, Bridget?
Like, it's almost like they're saying, like, so they marry off the oldest daughter, then makes the older daughter to like be married.
Yeah.
So like it's almost like the daughters, so both like her, it's almost like they're like both like handcuffed together. Like it's not
Yes.
like the older sister's married off.
Yes, absolutely. Which suggests that love is not as freeing of an idea as it maybe is to us, like in these days, where it's like you find the person that you love, and then you get to make this big choice, and you get to go off and be like, outside of your parents' control or whatever. In this, it's like, no, they're kind of handcuffed together under these social obligations, right? And also, if she is free, then it shouldn't then follow that she must marry a husband after that, right? Like Gremio and Hortensio, who Gremio is like this old man that's like disgusting, right? He's always spitting on stage, and like they call him a pantaloon, which is like a gross old man. And then Hortensio is usually portrayed as kind of like a buffoon, like he's kind of just like, like that's kind of like his character. I don't know how to describe that in words. And so she's really not like that. Those aren't great choices, right? But the way that they imagine it is like, we're going to set her free so that then we can capture her again, kind of an idea. And you're going to see in this book how much of like how being married cannot possibly be seen as being set free. All right, and then there's a line next. That's kind of awkward, but let's talk about it. Gremio says, I am agreed. And would I had given him the best horse in Padua to begin his wooing that would thoroughly woo her, wed her, and bed her, and rid the house of her. Come on. So he's like, and I would give, if we can find somebody who will woo her, like date her, wed her, bed her, and rid the house of her, then I will give my horse to that guy. Like I will give him so many extra possessions because this girl is so unwantable, right? But look at that phrase. Like, I wonder what makes Catherine so much of a shrew when people are talking about her this way. Look at the way that they're talking about her. What are they saying about her? In that little line. Mm-hmm. Like, who cares about her character? Who cares about, like, what she likes and doesn't like? It's just like, this is all that she is sort of supposed to do, right? And so there's a bit of a critique here in, like, what made Catherine a shrew? Was she born a shrew? Was she just, like, born kind of antisocial, doesn't really care what other people think of her, like, kind of a brat? Or is it language like this that surrounds her whole life that's saying like, oh, let's just like get rid of her. Like the dad doesn't want her around, the sister doesn't want her around, none of the men want her around. Is that what has turned her into a shrew? There's a little potential for satire in there too, how we treat women in this society. Okay, so we're gonna start where Tranio, they both leave after saying this plan, and Tranio is talking to Licentio. So Tranio, go ahead.
I pray, sir, tell me, is it possible that love should of a sudden take such root?
Oh, Tranio, till today, till I found it to be true, I never thought it possible or likely. But see, while idly I stood looking on, I found the effect of love in idleness, and now in plainness do confess to me. That art to me as secret and as dear as Anne to the Queen of Carthage was. Tranio, I burn, I pine, I perish, Tranio. If I achieve not this young modest girl, counsel me, Tranio, for I know thou canst. Assist me, Tranio, for I know thou wilt.
Beautifully done.
Master, it is no time to chide you now. Affection is not raised from heart. If love hath touched you, not remain so so. If you take custom kiss me not.
No one knows how to say the Latin. It says, ransom yourself from capture as cheaply as possible.
Gramercy's lad, go forward, this contents, the rest will comfort for thy counsel's son.
Master, you look so lonely on my maid. Perhaps you marked not what the fifth of all?
Oh yes, I saw beauty in her face, such as the daughter of Agenor had, that made great Jove to humble him to her hand when with his knees he kissed the cretan strand.
Saw you no more, marked you not, how her sister began to scold and raise up such a storm that mortal ears might hardly endure the din?
Tranio, I saw her coral lips to move, and with her breath she did perfume the air, sacred and sweet was all I saw in her.
Nay, then 'tis time to stir for him for his chance. I pray awake, sir, if you love me. Then thoughts and wits did you go thus it stands. The elder sister is so cursed and true, that till the father did command her, Master, your love must live a maid at home, and therefore has he close to lead her up, because she will not be known with.
Ah, Tranio, what a cruel father is he. But art thou not advised he took some care to get her cunning schoolmasters to instruct her?
Aye, marry I am, sir, and now,
I have it, Tranio.
Master, for my hand, both are intellect, meet and jump in one.
Tell me thine first.
You will be the schoolmaster and undertaker, the teacher. That's your part.
It is. May it be done?
Not possible. But who shall bear your part? And we, Padua here, Vincentio's son.
Yeah.
Keep house and fly his book, welcome his friends, visit his countrymen, and
Basta. Content thee, for I have it full. We have not yet been seen in any house, nor can we be distinguished by our faces, or man or master. Then it follows thus. Thou shalt be master, training in my stead. Keep house and port and servants as I should. I will some other be, some Florentine, some Neapolitan, some Neapolitan, or meaner man of Pisa. 'Tis hatched and shall be so. Tranio at once, uncase me. Take my colored hat and cloak.
All right, you guys got to trade hats. All right, because what's the plan? Why are they trading?
So Tranio could be, or so Lusanto can be the school teacher.
Yeah, exactly. So now, and I don't know, the hats, I don't know, this one looks kind of fancy too, but now Lucentio is going to be a schoolmaster, right? And Tranio asks like, okay, but who would pretend to be here as Vicentio's son? Like Lucentio is Vicentio's son. And so they're like, you know, people know that Vicentio's kid is here in town. So who's gonna be that kid if you're being a schoolmaster? And who is gonna be the kid? Tranio, yeah. So Tranio is pretending to be Lucentio now, and Lucentio is going to pretend to be a schoolmaster. Okay.
When Bienville comes, he waits on me, but I will charm him first to keep his time.
So how do you read? In brief, sir, this is the pleasure. And I am tired of giving you, fulfill your father's heart to me and our pleasure. He's serviceable to my son, quoth he, although I think twice in another sense. I'm content to be Lucentio, but so well I love Lucentio.
Tranio be so, because Lucentio loves, and let me be a slave to achieve that maid whose sudden slight hath thralled my wounded eye.
Okay, let's pause there for a second before Bienville comes in. Do you think this love that Lucentio has for Bianca is real?
No.
Oh,
Okay, why do you say no?
he's just a cat. He's just like, almost like, in a way.
Yeah, especially the way Zach delivered it, which was perfect. It was so good. Look on page 41. There's a very famous line here where he says, Tranio, I burn, I pine, I perish, Tranio, if I cannot achieve this young modest girl. Like, that's exactly where I think it sounds so over the top that it almost sounds sarcastic, right? Why isn't he in love with her? Why do you guys think, what's the limitations there? Let's go Ashton and then Bridger and then Kel.
I don't, maybe women were treated more as objects in those days, so maybe just one to.
Yeah, wasn't it? I think Peyton played Bianca before. She had one line. Bianca has said one thing so far in this play. And so for him to be in love with her, it kind of does seem a little bit like an object, you know? He sees that other men are in love with her, so she must be good. Bridger, what are you saying?
I was just gonna say, just like that, like, it doesn't even like, like, it all things the same, especially looks beautiful and stuff, but like. That's.
Yeah, like she could be totally awful too, and he has no idea, right? And Tranio points that out to him. He says, Master, you look so longly on the maid. And when he says longly, does it say it here? It's like longly is not longingly. It's like looking at her from afar. You looked at her longly, like you didn't get a chance to see her. Perhaps you marked not what's the pith of all, which is like, maybe you didn't actually like figure out who this person is. Pith means essence. So like, you don't actually know her, you know? Kale and then to Jack.
I think maybe because he saw two people fighting over this young girl, I think he like that makes him more like I
Totally.
oh well if I can get her by undercutting these two fellows, then I'm gonna be better.
Yeah, it's become like a competition between men, maybe rather than a competition for a girl, you know? What matters is that you win the fight or the game in this case. Yeah, Jack.
I was thinking the same thing, like kind of like she just seemed like so out of reach. It feels like a challenge. And he kind of wants to like prove himself or something. So he's like, oh, if I can do this, and I can prove myself to my father, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like here he is in town, and what they've talked about twice now is like, you are Vicentio's son. You are here to prove yourself. You're here to like get this liberal arts education. And so maybe part of winning Bianca's love could be like proving yourself in another way. Maggie?
It reminds me of like someone who I don't know. It's two guys, and then it wasn't really in business until he saw them do it, and maybe I should be a part of it. I think I should get some attention for it,
Yeah,
and then look out, kind of get, like, look me kind of.
yeah.
That's what I thought of it when I saw it.
Like I want to, I want to experience what the city has to offer, and it seems like this is something that we do in this city is try and win this girl's love. So I better participate. Yeah, I like that. What is Tranio's like? He cautions Lucentio, and one thing that he cautions him about is Catherine. Why would he caution him about Catherine in this case? She's what? Yeah.
She has like such a tight grip on the house. So like, she's basically only really have that.
Okay, good. So she might be like the reason he can't get with Bianca, right? If you look at the bottom of 41, Lucentio is like, I saw sweet beauty in her face. And this goes back to Ashton's point. Like the thing he's admiring about her is how beautiful she is, right? And Tranio on the top of 43 says, saw you no more? Marked you not how her sister began to scold and raise up such a storm that mortal ears might hardly endure the din? And Lucentio is like, I saw her coral lips, move. She's just so hot. I didn't see the sister, But what is Tranio warning against there? Because it's not just about how, like, look, she's never going to be available to you because Catherine is never going to get married. It's about something else there. You ever heard, like, when you get married, you married the whole family? You heard about that idea? It's like, here's her sister, and her sister is awful. And we've heard her sister say some things, way more than we've heard Bianca say. So how can we be sure that Bianca is as beautiful and sweet and humble maiden that you think she is? There's something in the family here that we should probably check out. All right, Biondello enters into the room and Lucentio says,
Here comes the road. Sirrah, where have you been?
Oh, shoot.
it's okay, bottom 45.
Where have I been? Nay, how now, where master, has my fellow Tranio still in your clothes, or are you still in his, or both? Pray, what's the news?
Sirrah, come hither. 'Tis no time to jest, and therefore frame your manners to the time. Your fellow Tranio here, to save my life, puts my apparel and my countenance on, and I, for my escape, have put on his. We're in a quarrel since I came ashore. I killed a man, and fear I was described. Wait you on him, I charge you, as we tell. While I make way from hence to save my life. You understand me?
I, sir, you're away.
And not a jot of Tranio in your mouth. Tranio is changed into Lucent.
The better for him, would I were so true.
So could I think, boy, to have the next wish after the Lucentio and me and Baptista's youngest daughter? But Sirrah, not for my sake, but for your master's I advise, you use your manners discreetly in all times and company. When I am alone, why then I am tranquil. But in all places else, your master is.
Tranio, let's go. One thing more rests, that thyself execute, to make one among these rules. If thou ask me why, sufficeth my reasons are both good and weighty.
My lord, you do not find the way.
Yes, by Saint Anne do I, a good matter surely. Comes there any more of it?
No word, 'tis but begun.
'Tis a very excellent piece of work, madam lady. Would 'twere done.
He's like, what a great play. I wish it was over. That's what he says at the end. Okay, so they're pretending to be, Tranio's pretending to be Lucentio, right? Biondello is the servant, and Biondello is going to act like Tranio is Lucentio. So Biondello is going to like pretend to be the serving man to Tranio instead of to Lucentio. Does that clear it up a little bit? Okay, there's going to be even more disguises after this, so we're going to have to keep track of these. All right. What? That's why you got the hats, exactly. All right, pull out that reading log that I gave you last time. It's the tan colored sheet. Yeah. Okay, for those of you who weren't here, you're skipping the first two boxes because you'll need to finish that later and you're going down to this third box. It's the same, yeah. It's like it follows something great about using adaptation. It follows it really closely. All right, so we are on Act 1, Scene 1, And you're going to find a quotation that you think is representative, just in scene one, that is representative of, some emerging themes in this play, or something that you find, a quote that you find interesting. It could be from last time or today, anything in scene one. And you can do it together or separately. What? Sorry. Oh, so we're just doing Act 1, Scene 1. So this is when it starts on page 31 and goes to page 49. And you're just finding one quote from that little section that you think is starting to where a theme is starting to emerge. So anywhere where you see satire, anywhere where you see something like interesting in the language, I burn, I pine, I perish works. Or Catherine's got a good line on 35, we didn't even talk about.
How can I find some way to challenge ourselves so we're not
that we read. And for this one, we're going to do a bit of role play. So you're going to choose who you want to be. I'm not going to make you this time. You can either be Gremio, Hortensio, or Lucentio. So again, Gremio is the old man, the gross old man. Hortensio is kind of the dope, kind of a dumb jock. I probably think of him. Lucentio is the young student, right? You're going to be one of those guys. If you're Gremio or Hortensio, you're going to write a little speech of what we call a monologue, which is like a long speech in a play, about how you're going to convince someone to marry Catherine. So you're kind of imagining that someone is in front of you and you're trying to convince them that Catherine is the person for them. If you're Lucentio, you're going to try and convince Bianca to marry you instead of the other two. So you'll choose one of those. And then you're going to find 3 words from the notes section from what we've read so far. So it can be in Act 1 or it can be in the induction. You'll choose one of the words on that side of the page, the left-hand side of the page. Find 3 of those to incorporate into your speech, because that's going to help you write it in Shakespearean language. So you're going to try and kind of capture the tone of the language in this book so far using those 3 words, and you can use even more than that if you would like to. And then afterwards, we'll have a couple people come up and deliver their monologue and hopefully wear a nice costume to do so. Okay, I think this will work so much better in pairs. So unless you really, really don't want to work with somebody, grab a partner for this one. I'll give you a few minutes or a few seconds to decide on a partner.
Okay.
Okay, who doesn't have a partner and wants a partner? Keegan and Ashton, will you guys work together? Perfect. Okay, anybody else? All right, cool. One partner writes it down. I just need one, and you guys put both your names at the top of the paper. Okay, I'm gonna give you about 10 minutes for this one.
All right, so we're writing down.
Let's
Does anyone
and we'll be like,
need paper?
let's do it.
Anyone else need some paper? Okay, let me grab some.
Or be a used car salesman.
I wasn't here last time. I don't really know.
Just put your shit up on right now.
Starting in scene 2, which is on page 45, 49, and Petruchio starts us off.
Verona, for a while I take my leave to see my friends and Padua. But of all my best beloveds and approved friends, Hortensio, and I troth this, to his house, here, Sir Grumio. Knock, I say.
Knock, sir, whom should I knock? Is there any manner of refuse to your worship?
Villain, I say, knock me here soundly.
Knock you here, sir? Why, sir, what am I, sir? I should knock you here, sir.
Villain, I say, knock me at this gate and rap me well, or I'll knock your knave's pate.
My master is grown quarrelsome. I should knock you first, and then I will know after who comes by the worst.
Will it not be faith, Sarai, and you'll not knock, I'll ring it, I'll try how you can, so, and sing it, he writes him by the.
Oh yeah, that was mine. He rings him by the ear. So basically, he's like, knock on this door, and Grumio's like, who should I knock? Like he's kind of like just like a, I don't know, kind of a himbo kind of guy. He's wanting to hit. He's trying to hit people, you know. And Petruchio's like, no, just knock on the door. And then they start getting all confused about what should we knock. And so Petruchio rings him by the ears, and Grumio falls over.
Help, mistress, help, my master is mad.
Now, not when I bid you, Sirrah, villain.
How now, what's the matter? My old friend Gringo and my good friend Petruchio. How do you all after all grown up?
Senior Hortensio? Hortensio, come you to part the fray,
And then there's some Latin
may I say.
and more Latin.
Alla nostra canta benvenuto.
Oh, actually, that's not Latin. That's Italian. Sorry.
Molto buonato. Ignormio Petruchio, rise with you, rise. We will compound this quarrel.
Grumio gets up.
Nay, it is no matter, sir, what he ladies in Latin. If this be not a lawful cause for me to leave his service. Look you, sir, he made me knock him and rap him soundly, sir. Or was it fit for a service of master so be it, perhaps for aught I see 230 of fifth out. Whom would to God I had well knocked at first. They had not Grumio come by the worst.
A senseless villain, good Hortensio, I bade the rascal knock upon your gate, and could not get him for my heart to do it.
Knock at the gate, oh heaven, speak you not these words plainly. Surround, not here, knock me here, knock me here, knock me sound, and come you now knocking at the gate.
Sirrah, be gone, or talk not, I advise you.
Petruchio, patience, I am Gringo's pledge. Why is a heavy chance to extend it? Think of because of service Gringo, and tell me now, sweet friend, what happy gale blows the fabulous
Such wind as scatters young men through the world to seek their fortunes farther than at home, where small experience grows, but in a few senior Hortensio. Thus it stands with me. Antonio, my father, is deceased, and I have thrust myself into this maze happily to wife and thrive as best I may. Crowns in my purse I have, and goods at home, and so am come aboard to sea.
Petruchio, shall I then come out with true so fever fight? Thou take me but a little for my culture, and yet I'll promise thee she shall be rich, and very rich, but thou art too much my friend, and I would not wish thee to her.
Senior Hortensio, twixt such friends as we, few words suffice, and therefore, if thou know one rich enough to be Hortensio's wife, as wealth is burden of my wounding dance, be she as foul as was Florentius' love, as old as Sibylla, And-
Sybil, yeah.
Sybil,
Sorry, I'm like saying yeah for no reason. It's just
Oh.
Sybil.
Sybil, and as crest and shrewd as Socrates Van
Who knows?
or or a worse, she moves me not, or not removes at least a vision's edge in me, where she as rough as are the swelling Adriatic seas. I come to wife it wealthy in Padua, if wealthily then happily in Padua.
Okay, let's take a pause right there. So Petruchio is a guy who has come to town. What is his reason for coming to Padua? To marry, yeah. And what kind of a wife is he looking for? A rich wife. Yes, exactly. So he's like, my dad's dead, so I came to Padua to seek my fortunes, happily to wife and thrive the best I may. So he's kind of saying like the best wife for me is going to be a rich wife. And so Hortensio says, thou didst thank me but a little for my counsel. And yet I'll promise thee, go back. Petruchio, shall I then come roundly to thee and wish thee to a shrewd, ill-favored wife? How many of you guys in your speeches did you just come out and say she's awful and nobody likes her, but she's rich? Yeah, kind of, you guys did. Yeah, that's sort of Hortensio's plan here. Is like that's how he's going to convince him. He's like, okay, well, if what you are after is a rich wife, like you can't get much richer than this. But then he uses a little reverse psychology that I like. He's like, and yet I'll promise thee she shall be rich and very rich, but thou art too much my friend, and I'll not wish thee to her. And how does Petruchio take that little bit of reverse psychology? Zach?
Kind of like, I'll show you, I'll marry her if she's the ugliest woman on earth if she's rich.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, I can handle a terrible girl. Even if she is old, ugly, foul-tempered, as long as she is rich, I will be happy. Okay. Yes. Yeah, so Petruchio as a character so far, what do you think of this guy? Yeah, Kel.
I like, he seems like a fun guy. He knows what he wants.
That's true.
Although he cares a lot about money, he's willing to marry anyone.
So it's like, even if his goal is maybe not that noble, at least he's going to work hard to achieve that goal. And that's something to admire. I'll say this, usually Petruchio is played by a real hottie in the play. It's the only way they can get us to like Petruchio maybe, but it'll be like in 10 Things I Hate About You, it's Heath Ledger, or like, it'll be like these very handsome actors. Yeah.
He's very just blunt. He just says it as it is. Like,
Yeah.
He doesn't care out of what I mean.
Right, exactly. He doesn't come in and try to play like he's not after the money, which like Gremio and Hortensio are after the money too, right? But here's Petruchio just being like out with it, you know? I come to wife it wealthily in Padua, if wealthily, then happily in Padua. Okay, Grumio, go ahead.
Nay, look you, sir, he told me gladly what his mind is. Why give him gold enough to marry him to a puppet, or an English baby, or an old crop of merit tooth in her head? Oceana has many diseases and 250 horses. Why nothing come amiss so money comes without?
Petruchio, since we are steps thus far in, I will continue that I broached in debt. I can Petruchio help me to a wife, with wealth enough and young and beautiful, brought up as best she comes to. The only fault, and that is false enough, is that she's intolerable curse. And shrewd and forward, so beyond all measure that for my state far worse than it is, I would not let her fall my own.
Hortensio, peace, thou knowest not gold's effects. Tell me her father's name, and 'tis enough, for I will board her, though she chide as loud as thunder when the clouds in autumn rattle.
Her father is Baptistin Manoel, an affable and courteous gentleman. Her name is Catharina Manola, renowned and Padua for her stolen house.
I know her father, thou I know not her, and he knew my deceased father well. I will not sleep, Hortensio, till I see her, and therefore let me be thus bold with you, to give you over at this first encounter, unless you will accompany me thither.
I pray you, sir, let him go all the humor last. Oh my word, as you knew him as well as I do, who thinks scolding would do little good upon him. You may perhaps call him half a score and man himself, and that's nothing, and he begin one. The realm is road curse. I'll tell you what, sir, and she's standing but a little. He will throw a figure in her face, so disfigure her with it, that she will have no more eyes to see with all that it has. You know I'm not, sir.
Yikes.
Harry, Petruchio, I must go with you, for in that distance keep my treasure is, he hath the jewel of my life and life. And his daughter, beautiful Johnson, and other more, suitors to better marriage than my love. Supposing it of things impossible for those defects I have been that ever Catharina will therefore disorder past that is like, and
It's like taken.
taken. And shall have access unto the outside, so Catherine, the first have got.
After the curse, a title for a maid, all titles were words.
Now shall my friend Petruchio do me grace and offer me disguise and for the road, full such as at the school time. Well seen in music to instruct me, but so I may, by this device at least, have leave and feature to make love to burden on such court for my result.
Here's no knavery, he to beguile the old folks, here's the young folks living right together.
Enter Gremio and Lucentio. Lucentio is disguised as Cambio, a schoolmaster.
Master, look about you, who goes there? Ah,
Peace, Rubio, it is the rival of my love. Petruchio stand by a one.
Petruchio, Hortensio, and Grumio stand aside.
proper carefully in a family.
Oh, very well, I have pursued the note. Hark you, sir, I'll have them very fairly bound, all books of love. See that at any hand, and see you read no other lectures to her. You understand me, over and besides, Senor Baptista, yeah, I'll mend it with the largest sacred paper too, and let me have them very well perfumed. So she appears to perfume itself to whom they go to. What will you read to her?
Whate'er I read to her, I'll plead for you as my patron, stand you so assured, as firmly as yourself are still in place. Yea, and perhaps with more successful words than you, unless you are a scholar.
So what's Lucentio assuring Gremio of? So let me ask this, why is Gremio the one hiring the schoolmaster for Bianca?
Almost have I have thought, but I don't know how to put it.
Yeah,
That's kind of a good word for me.
yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, he's like, okay, Gremio's like, okay, here are all the books I want you to read her. They're love books. And you're gonna pretend, like, you're gonna keep saying like my name to her, basically. Like, you're gonna keep saying like how great Gremio is, right? And Lucentio's like, oh, for sure. It'll be like you were in the room. All right, Gremio.
Oh, this learning, what a thing it is.
Oh, this would talk. You want me to swear or not?
Yeah, go for it if you're comfortable with it.
What an ass it is.
Peace, sir. Romeo, love, God save you, Senor Romeo. And you are well met, Senor, Hortensio. Troth, whither I am going, to Baptista Minola. I promise to inquire carefully about a schoolmaster for the fair Bianca. And by good fortune, I have lighted well on this young man for learning and behavior fit for her. Will read poetry and other books, good ones, I warn you. 'Tis well, and I have met a gentleman. Hath promised me to help me to another a fine musician to instruct them. So shall I go with you behind him to meet the fair Bianca, the beloved, who loves with me, and that my deeds shall prove.
Grumio says,
Oh, wait, where are we?
it's in 61 at the top.
Oh, and that is back shelter.
Hear me, O, 'tis now no time to vex thy love. Listen to me, and if you speak clear, I'll fight you indifferent, good for either.
He presents Petruchio.
Here is a gentleman whom my chamber has, upon agreement for us to his liking, will undertake to meet her Catherine, yeah, and to marry her if her dowry. So said, so done, well. Hortensio, have you told him of her faults? All her faults?
I know she is an
Irksome.
brawling scold, if that be all, master, I hear no more.
No. Sayest ye so, friend? What country?
Born in Verona, old Antonio's son, my father dead, my fortune lives for me, and I do hope good days and long.
Oh, sir, such a life with such a wife were strange. But if you have stomach, befit I God's name.
So it's like, if you have a,
I God's name.
if you have a stomach to it, in God's name.
Yeah. But you shall have he assisting you in all. But will you woo this wild cat?
Will I live?
Will you woo her? Aye, or I'll hang her.
Yeah, Grumio's kind of intense. let's finish with Petruchio's speech here.
Why came I hither but to that intent? Think you a little then can daunt mine ears. Have I not in my time heard lions roar? Have I not heard the sea puffed up with winds? Range with an angry war, chased with sweat. Have I not heard great ordnance in the field and heaven's artillery thunder in the sky? Have I not in a pitched battle heard loud alarms,
Like alarms.
seas and trumpets clang? And do you tell me of a woman's tongue that gives not half so great a blow to hear as will a chestnut in a farmer's fire? Tush, tush, beer boys with bugs.
Grumio says, for he fears none. He's a really good, like, you're a really good bro, Grumio. Like, you got his back. Okay, so on Canvas, it says I want you to read Act 2. I'm changing my mind. All I want, no, I do need you to. So I need you to finish Act 1. And Act 2 is only one scene long. So you're going to read this at home. Has anybody read Shakespeare on their own before? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, a few of you, you're ready to do that. That might seem daunting to other people. It was to me, at least. There is all sorts of online resources to check if you don't feel like you're getting the plots. There's something called No Fear Shakespeare, that it will be right alongside the Shakespearean language. It will tell you kind of more common language to understand it. Yeah.
Do my next class.
Yeah, so, oh wait, no, today's Monday, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I was doing this over a weekend. I'm sorry. No, all you have to do, all I want you to do is finish Act 1. So that's 4 pages. You can do that. There will be, the Canvas will be on, the assignment will be on Canvas. Act 2 will be next week, but we'll get into it, so you won't have much. Yeah, sorry, I was confused. No, you're good, Mercedes.